All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back. So today we are going to check the run out. So I know I said it before, but let's start it now. After you get your dial indicator set up and zeroed out, you're going to want to rotate the engine 360 degrees and make sure that the dial goes back to zero after a complete rotation. You can see after a full rotation, it is back to zero. Now look for the highest point. In my case, it was 50 thousandths of an inch. Once you get your highest point, use that as your starting point and zero your gauge back out, and we'll use that as the new 0 point. We are now set at 0 at this point. Grab your marker and make a line where the new 0 point is. Then grab a straight edge and make a new line where your 6 o'clock is going to be. It always helps to draw a little diagram to keep yourself on track. Just like we did before, what you're going to do is you're going to want to rotate the engine another 360 degrees and ensure that your dial indicator goes back to the 0 spot where you first started at the new line. And it's zeroed out, which is perfect. That's what we want. Now you're going to continue rotating until you get to your new 6 o'clock line, which is 90 degrees. Which is 180 degrees from the new 0 line. Once you get to that point, you might go over a little bit. You want to just back the engine back just a little bit until you get to the exact spot. And then you're going to look and you're going to take that measurement and write it down on your diagram. In my case, it was 48 thousandths of an inch. Basically, what you're going to want to do now is just divide that by 2, and that's going to give you your total run out. In my case, 48 thousandths divided by 2 is going to be 24 thousandths. It's actually a big way to be off. Just to check my 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, I'm going to set the dial indicator and take the measurements on both of those sides, which are going to be 90 degrees from where we just were. In my case, one side is 43 thousandths of an inch. Rotate it again another 180 degrees and take that measurement. And that measurement is 26 thousandths of an inch. Next, we need to find the difference. So 43 thousandths minus 26 thousandths is going to give us the difference of 17 thousandths of an inch. And then half of that is 8.5 thousandths of an inch, which is still a little bit more side to side than the recommended 5 thousandths, but our up and down is significantly off at 24 thousandths. So we're going to have to get some bigger offset dowels and maybe go as much as a 21 thousandths offset dowel. But before I do that, I'm actually going to grab another dial indicator just to double check to make sure, because I'd rather double check and measure twice than order the wrong dowel pin from the get-go. So we'll grab another dial indicator and we'll set that up and we'll redo this process and we'll see if we come up with a different number at that point. All right, so today is a new day. We got our Summit order, came in with our 21 thousandths offset dowel pins. So if you recall, when we had done this this test right here, we were off roughly about 24 thousandths. So figured buying a set of the 21 thousandths would hopefully get us in and around the area that we needed to be. So we got our dowel pins, and if you see, so basically these dowel pins, they're slightly off. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the high spot and we're going to install those into the bell housing, and we're going to redo the test and see what the runout comes in with these dowel pins. So let's get this old bell housing off. Let's get the old dowel pins out, get the new dowel pins in, and set up the dial indicator and see what we come up with. So if you recall, we were 24 off. So looking at the bell housing, we were just slightly off. We weren't perpendicular, we weren't straight up and down, we were just slightly over to the side. So we're going to put these in just slightly over. So, and they both need to go in at the same angle. Now let's get the bell housing back on. All right, well, according to that last video, the highest point, the most positive point is 4. And as you can see, I have it set at 4 right now, which actually lines up with one of our old lines. So we're actually going to make another mark right there. Okay, and then 180 degrees would be right about here. So we're going to make a mark there. What we're going to do is set this to 0. This will be our new 0 mark. Okay, tighten that down, right at 0. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it 180 degrees till we get to this point up here, and that should give us our distance, and then we're going to divide that in half. So fingers crossed that we're going to be on point. Otherwise, because of the way this bell housing is, you can't adjust those dowel pins with the bell housing on. I would actually have to take the bell housing off, make a slight adjustment in the dowel pin, put the bell housing back on, and keep doing that until I got the number I needed. So we're going to set it at 0, keep our fingers crossed, and let's go turn this thing 180 degrees. Like right about there, That's not good. Well, that's showing 42, which again, half of that is 21. So, if anybody knows what the heck I just did wrong, I'd love to know. But let me take it off and spin it back, spin the dowel pins 180 degrees off, and I bet you that's what I need to do. So I'm gonna pull the bell housing back off, spin those dowel pins 180 degrees, put this all back together and try again. That's what the suck part is about this. It's all adjust, trial, take apart, adjust it, keep playing with it until you finally get it. Once it's done, you can lock it down into place, but I'm gonna have to take it apart. So I'm gonna do that right now. All right, so we have the bell housing off, and you can see my dowel pins are still facing in the direction that I thought they needed to go. So we were off 21. So you know what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn these dowel pins 180 degrees. And let's see if that does anything for us. So I think we're right about there. Spin this one 180. That look about right? It's about 180. 180. Okay. Well, now we have them again facing in the same direction, except we put the offset facing down. So let's see if that makes a little bit of a difference, and put it all back together and try again. All right, by now you guys know the drill, right? So the bell housing's all put back on. Got the dial indicator back set in place. So we're gonna again now set this to 0, because now we need to find again the highest positive spot on this. So we're at 0. All right, let's rotate this 360 degrees and look for the high spot. All right, you guys see it? Where is it? All right, looks like the largest positive number that we got to was positive 12, and we're sitting right at positive 12. So we're gonna mark that spot right there. 180 degrees is gonna be this one. Okay, zero this out. This will be our new 0 spot. Let's crank this thing 180 degrees and see what we got. Well, the frick are we going? What the hell is going on? I gotta be doing something wrong. There we go again. So what the heck do we have there? That is 20, oh no, that's about 48, which is half of 24. Yeah, all right. Something's not right. All right, so I messed around with the pins for a little bit. I'm still using the 21 thousandths pin, but was looking for the high spot, and for whatever reason, I wasn't able to. It wasn't lining up right. I actually ended up, if you look at this, I ended up having to, basically this represents the high spot on the pin. I literally took this thing out. I had it straight up, I had it to the left, I had it down, I had it to the right. I had the pins offset from each other. I had them in the same way. What's weird about it is I was able to get it pretty close, I think. If you recall, the very first one that we had done was we were off 48 thousandths, and then that divided by 2 was 24. So that's what gave us the 21 thousandths dowel, which would have made us approximately 0.3 off, which in theory would have been, decent for, to stay within spec of 5 thousandths of an inch. So after playing with it for 2 days and taking the bell housing off, putting it on, off, on, and actually rotating using the Allen key and rotating the dowel pins, I think I have it in the best spot. So I'm gonna just set the dial indicator up one more time. We're gonna go around just to confirm, and if that's it, we're gonna leave it as it is. So let's set the dial indicator up and go through that process one more time and see where we land. So bell housing's back on, dial indicator set in place. I just picked a random spot here. So we're gonna zero this. We're gonna zero this out. Okay, and then we're gonna rotate the engine 360 degrees. And we're gonna look for the most positive number. Positive is going up this way, negative is this way. So we don't care about what it looks like. We're just looking for the highest positive number. All right, did you guys see where that highest number went? So I went back and rewatched the video since I'm doing this by myself, and it looks like at that point, that seems to be the highest positive number, showing roughly 3 thousandths of an inch. So as you can see, there's I have tons of marks all the way around, and through quite a few of those tests, these 2 marks seem to keep coming up quite often. So we're gonna set the dial indicator at 0 at this point. We're gonna spin it 180 degrees to this mark that's already up there, and that should actually give us our total indicated run out, and then we can divide that by 2, and that should kind of give us, the number that we're looking for. So as I go up, at this point in time, it really doesn't matter if the number is going to be a negative or a positive. We're just going to look to see what it's showing. So all right, so we're at 0. All right, we're at 0. We're going to spin this thing 180 degrees. So you can see we're going negative, which is fine. Is that a little more? Right about there. And that's showing right on the -10. So we're looking at -10 divided by 2 is 0.005, which is dead on to where we need to be. And I think that's as close as we're going to be able to get that. So now that we have that all measured out, adjusted appropriately, we're going to leave the dowel pins where they are. I'm just going to take a hammer and just kind of tap them in a little bit. I don't have the dowel pins that have the set screw, but we will button that up. And then the next step is to pull the bell housing back off. We're going to clean it up, get it all nice and painted. We're going to get the clutch on, and we'll get the bell housing put back on. We'll put the starter in. And then at that point, I think it's time to get those headers fit on, and then button up a couple of things on the top of the motor. And then this engine is going to be done until we get the 4-speed, so we can put that up against the bell housing. Once we get that 4-speed in, it's go time. We're going to get this thing set in the car. So that is how you, in a roundabout way, I know it was kind of long-winded here, how you can check the runout on a bell housing, which is really important. Not so much on these older Mopar units with the A833s. They have so much tolerance with the play that's in the input shaft. It's more important when you start taking and start using like Tremec 5-speeds and things like that, when you start bolting those up with QuickTime bell housings and up against these Gen 3 Hemis. So it wasn't as important to get within the spec for the drivetrain that we're using, but for purposes of this, I did want to show you that. So I hope that was helpful. And always, if you think this was, helpful and you think I deserve the subscribe, please go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you like the channel. Leave a comment if you think I did something wrong or you think I could have done something a little bit different. I'd always love to hear your comments. And then, yeah, so follow along. In the next video, we'll get this thing wrapped up and buttoned up, and we'll go from there. So talk to you later.